The nature of emotions. Emotions can be tricky. In this section, we will discuss in depth how they work. By understanding the mechanism behind emotions, you will be able to manage them more effectively as they arise. The first thing to understand is that emotions come and go. One moment you feel happy, the next you feel sad, while you do have some control over your emotions. You must also recognize their unpredictable nature. If you expect to be happy all the time, you set yourself up for failure. You then risk blaming yourself when you fail to be happy, or even worse, beat yourself up for it. To start taking control of your emotions, you must accept they are transient. You must learn to let them pass without feeling the need to identify strongly with them. You must allow yourself to feel sad without adding commentaries, such as, I shouldn't be sad, or what's wrong with me. Instead, you must allow reality to just be. No matter how mentally tough you are, you will still experience sadness, grief, or depression in your life. Hopefully, not at the same time and not continually. At times, you will feel disappointed, betrayed, insecure, resentful, or ashamed. You will doubt yourself and doubt your ability to be the person you want to be. But that's okay, because emotions come, but more importantly, they go. Your negative emotions are not bad or useless. You may blame yourself for experiencing negative emotions, or perhaps you see yourself as mentally weak. You may even believe something is wrong with you. However, despite what your inner voice may say, your emotions aren't bad. Emotions are simply emotions, nothing more. As such, being depressed doesn't make you less of a person than you were 3 weeks ago, when you were happy. Feeling sad now does not mean you will never be able to laugh again. Remember this: the way you interpret emotions, as well as the blame game you engage in, create suffering, not the emotions themselves. In fact, negative emotions can actually be helpful. Sometimes you need to touch rock bottom before you can reach the top. Even the toughest people on earth become depressed. Elon Musk never imagined he would have a mental breakdown, but he did, and he bounced back. After losing his fiancée, Abraham Lincoln was depressed for months. This tragic event didn't prevent him from becoming President of the United States. Negative emotions often serve a purpose. They may serve as a wake up call. They may help you learn something positive about yourself. Of course, when you are under their spell, it may be difficult to look at the bright side of things. But in hindsight, you may realize emotions, even sad ones, had their role to play in your ultimate success. The positive role of negative emotions. Your emotions are not here to make your life harder, but to tell you something. Without them, you wouldn't grow. Think of your negative emotions as the emotional equivalent of physical pain. While you hate being in pain, if you didn't have pain, chances are you would be dead by now. Physical pain sends a powerful signal that something is wrong, nudging you to take action of some kind. It could be to consult your doctor, which may lead you to undergo surgery, change your diet, or increase exercise. Without physical pain, you wouldn't do any of these things, and your situation would worsen, potentially leading to a premature death. Emotions work the same way. They signal you to do something. about your current situation. Perhaps you need to let go of some people, quit your job, or remove a disimproving story that creates suffering in your life. The fleeting nature of emotions. No matter how depressed you are, how much grief you are experiencing, or how horrible you feel at a given point in time, this shall pass. Look at some of the negative emotions you experienced in the past. Remember the worst times in your life. During these most difficult periods, you were probably so caught up in your emotions you imagined never being able to escape them. You couldn't imagine being happy again. But when these episodes ended, eventually the clouds dissipated and the real you shone again. Your emotions come and they go. Your depression will go. Your sadness will vanish and your anger will fade away. Bear in mind, if you experience the same emotions repeatedly, it probably means you hold these improving beliefs and need to change something in your life. We will discuss how later. If you suffer from severe chronic depression, it might be a good idea to consult a specialist. The trickiness of emotions. Have you ever felt you will never be happy again? Have you ever been so attached to your emotions you thought they will never go away? Don't worry, it's a common feeling. Negative emotions act as a filter that taints the quality of your experiences. During a negative episode, every experience is perceived through this filter. While the world outside may remain the same, you will experience it in a completely different way based on how you feel. For instance, when you are depressed, you don't enjoy the food you eat, the movie you see, or the activities in which you engage. You only see the negative side of things, feeling trapped and powerless. On the other hand, when you are in a positive mood, everything in life appears better. Food tastes great, you are naturally friendlier, and you enjoy all the activities you partake in. You may now believe that, armed with the knowledge you have gained from this book, you will never be depressed again. Wrong. You will keep experiencing sadness, frustration, depression, or resentment. But hopefully, each time these occur, you will become wiser and wiser, remembering that these too shall pass. I have to admit, I can easily be fooled by my emotions. While I know I am not my emotions, I still give them too much credit and fail to realize they are just temporary visitors. More importantly, I fail to remember they are not me. Emotions always come and go, but I remain. Once the emotional storm has passed, I generally feel like an idiot for having taken my emotions so seriously. Do you? Interestingly, external factors might not be, and often aren't, the direct cause of a sudden change in your emotion. You can be in the exact same situation, with the same job, the same amount of money in your bank account, and have the same problems as always, but experience radically different emotional states. In fact, if depressed for a couple of hours or a few days before bouncing back to your default emotional state. During this period of emotional stress, your environment doesn't change at all. The only thing that changes is your internal dialogue. I encourage you to make I encourage you to make a conscious effort to notice whenever such events happen and start saying through your emotions trickery. You might want to go one step further and record these events in a journal. By doing so, you will gain a deeper understanding of how emotions work, and as a result, you will be better equipped to manage them. The evil power of emotions. An emotion usually represents an amplified, energized thought pattern, and because of its often overpowering energetic charges, it is not easy initially to stay present enough to be able to watch it. It wants to take you over, and it usually succeeds, unless there is enough presence in you. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. Negative emotions are like a spell. While you are under their influence, breaking free from them seems impossible. You may know dwelling on the same thoughts is pointless, yet you can't help but go along with the flow. Feeling an intense pull, you keep identifying with your thoughts and, as a result, feel worse and worse. When this happens, no rational argument seems to work. The more these emotions feed your personal story, the stronger the pull becomes. For instance, if you believe you are not good enough, you may experience negative emotions such as guilt or shame each time you judge what you do is not good enough. Because you have experienced these emotions so many times before, they have become an automatic response. For more information on how the identification with emotions works, refers to the section Identification. The filtering power of emotions. Your emotional state can drastically affect your outlook on life, leading you to act and behave differently. When you are in a positive state, you have more energy available. This gives you more confidence in everything you do, an openness to consider new actions that could improve your life, the ability to leave or break out of your comfort zone, more emotional room to persevere during tough times, better ideas and enhanced creativity, and an easy access to positive emotions within the same emotional range. When you are in a negative state of mind, you have less energy available, giving you a lack of confidence that affects everything you do, a lack of motivation that reduces the scope of actions you are willing to take, a reluctance to take on new challenges and leave your comfort zone, a reduced ability to persevere in face of setbacks, and a propensity to attract negative thoughts within the same emotional range. Let's have a look at a real life example. Let me share with you a real example from my own life. Both cases happened under the same external conditions. The only difference was my emotional state at the time. Case 1. Feeling excited about my online business. More confidence in everything I do, I feel as though my ideas are good. I'm excited to work on my books and eager to write articles. I'm open to sharing my work and promoting it. An openness to consider new courses of action. I'm open to new ideas or to work on a new project. I can think of ways to collaborate with other authors and start building a new coaching program to offer my audience. The ability to get out of my comfort zone, it becomes easier for me to push myself beyond my comfort zone. I may contact people I don't know or run Facebook Lives. For instance, more emotional room to persevere, I stick to my projects even when I lack motivation. Better ideas and enhanced creativity. I'm open to new ideas. I might come up with new ideas for books, articles, or other creative projects. Easy access to more positive emotions. I attract more positive emotions. At the same time, my mind rejects negative thoughts more easily by refusing to identify with them. Case 2. Feeling mildly depressed due to my lack of results. A lack of confidence, I start doubting myself and all the projects I am currently working on. Suddenly, everything I do becomes useless or not good enough. Thoughts like, what's the point? I'm not going to make it, or I'm stupid, cross my mind. Needless to say, promoting myself becomes a major challenge. A lack of motivation, I don't feel like doing anything. I'm attacked by and am unable to escape negative thoughts. I have the same negative thoughts again and again, which repeat like a broken record. They seem so real and taint all my experiences. A difficulty to take on new challenges, I have little energy left over to leave my comfort and undertake challenging projects. A reduced ability to persevere, I have difficulty finishing tasks and I procrastinate over tasks I should be working on. A propensity to attract negative thoughts. I attract more and more negative thoughts, although these thoughts may have been crossing my mind before. Now they stack fast. By identifying with these thoughts, I generate more negative emotions. Both cases happen only a few days apart. The external environment was the exact same, but my emotional state was radically different and led me to take different actions. The magnetic power of emotions. Your emotions act like magnets. They attract thoughts on the same wave. That's why, when you are in a negative state, you easily attract other negative thoughts. And by latching onto these thoughts, you make the situation worse. As Eckhart Tolle wrote in The Power of Now, often a vicious circle builds up between your thinking and the emotion. They feed each other. The thought pattern creates a magnified reflection of itself in the form of an emotion, and the vibrational frequency of the emotion keeps feeding the original thought pattern. Now let's see what you can do to break free from that magnetic power. Breaking the magnetic power of emotions. Let's say you have a bad day at work and you are in a terrible mood. The negative state you are in causes you to attract more negative thoughts. Suddenly, you fix it on the fact you are still single at 30 and start beating yourself up over it. Then you blame yourself for being overweight. You also remember you have to go to the office the following Saturday, which reminds you how much your job sucks. Do you see how much easier it is to attract negative thoughts when you are feeling low? To prevent this from happening, it is essential you remove the habit of clustering negative thoughts together. Real life example. I have knee problems which prevents me from practicing many sports since I have always loved sports. These injuries have been a source of emotional pain. Fortunately, I seldom feel pain in my knees, but when I do, it can trigger negative emotions. One day, as I was observing my thought process, We all have different hobbies, haven't we? I realized experiencing pain in my knees negatively affected my mood, triggering more negative emotions in a negative feedback loop. The pain would cause me to focus on all the things that were going wrong, from my work to my personal life. As a result, I would experience negative emotions for hours or even days. The point I am making is no matter how great your life is, if you spend most of your time focusing on your problems, you will become depressed. Thus, to reduce negative emotions, you must learn to compartmentalize your issues. Don't let your mind over dramatize things by clustering unrelated issues. It will only make you feel worse. Instead, remember that negative emotions exist only in your mind. Taken separately, most of your issues aren't such a big deal, and there is no rule that says you have to solve them all at once. Start noticing how you feel. Record your negative emotions. Look at what triggers them. The more you do this, the more you will uncover certain patterns. For example, let's say you felt sad for a couple of days. Ask yourself the following questions: what triggered my emotions? What fueled them over the 2 day period? What story was I telling myself? How and why did I get out of my slump? What can I learn from this episode? Answering these questions will be invaluable and will greatly help you deal with similar issues in the future. Your emotional accessibility. We previously saw you were attract thoughts that matched your emotional state. The opposite is also true. You can't attract thoughts that are out of sync with how you feel at any given time. Even if you tried to think positive thoughts, your mind wouldn't be receptive to them. This is why during periods of sadness, while positive thoughts may cross your mind from time to time, you won't be able to associate with them and you won't be able to change your emotional state. Your emotional set point. Have you ever been told to cheer up when you were grieving or express gratitude when you were depressed? Did it help? It probably didn't. This is because the emotional state you were in didn't allow you access to these emotions. In their book, Ask and It Is Given, Esther and Jerry Hicks offer a model to explain how emotional ranges are connected and how we can move up the ladder from negative to more positive emotions. For instance, in this model, depression or hopelessness is at the bottom of the ladder, followed by anger. What it means is that when you feel depressed, signs of anger indicate you are climbing the emotional ladder. This makes sense. When you are angry, you have more energy than when you are depressed, right? Recently, after being depressed for a while, I experienced feelings of anger. For some reason, I got tired of the stories and excuses running through my mind, and I used the anger as a fuel to complete the tasks I had been avoiding. As a result, I was able to create momentum and climb the emotional ladder. Whenever you experience negative emotions, watch for emotions that give you more energy. So called negative emotions like anger can help you overcome even more disimproving emotions. Like hopelessness, only you know how you feel. Therefore, if anger feels better, accept it. Emotions and mental suffering. Did you know you create a lot of unnecessary pain in your life? Each time you lock onto a thought or hold onto an emotion, you suffer. A great example of this is how you react to physical pain. Whenever you feel pain, your first reaction is to interpret it. When you do so, you generate negative thoughts. Your identification with these thoughts is what creates mental suffering. Below are some of the thoughts that may cross your mind in these situations. What if this pain never goes away? What if I can't do XYZ anymore because of the pain? What if it gets worse? What if I need to undergo surgery? What if I can't go to work? I have an important project I must finish on time. With this pain, today is going to be challenging. I don't have money. How will I pay hospital bills if things get worse? This internal dialogue creates suffering but does nothing to help solve the problem. You can still function properly and take appropriate actions without dwelling on any of the above worries. Negative emotions are not the problem. The mental suffering you create out of these emotions is. Another example of mental suffering is procrastination. Have you ever delayed starting a task for days or weeks just to realize it wasn't a big deal once you would complete it? I have. What was the most exhausting part? The task itself, or the time you spent worrying about it? Or perhaps you didn't sleep long enough and keep telling yourself today is going to be a rough day. As you imagine all the tasks you need to do, you already feel exhausted. Psychologists have shown that mental suffering is what consumes most of your energy. After all, sitting at a desk all day shouldn't be that tiring, yet many of us feel exhausted at the end of the day. In his classic book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Dale Carnegie wrote the following. One of America's most distinguished psychiatrists, Dr. A. Brill, goes even further. He declares 100% of the fatigue of the sedentary worker in good health is due to psychological factors, by which we mean emotional factors. Dale Carnegie. People inflict a tremendous amount of suffering on themselves. As you continue reading this book, you will realize the idiocy of this activity. You will notice people around you dwelling on a past they cannot alter. You will see your family members and friends worrying about a future they cannot predict. You will witness people having the same repeated thoughts, running in circles to fight a problem that exists only in their mind. For thousands of years, mystics have told us that problems are in our mind. They have repeatedly invited us to look within. Yet, today, how many people are listening? Too many of us are addicted to our problems. Instead of letting go, we complain, we play the victim, we blame other people, or we discuss our problems without doing anything to solve them. To reduce this mental suffering, we must refuse to interpret our emotions in a negative and disimproving way. Why problems don't exist? If we go one step further and look at reality in an objective way, we can say that problems don't actually exist. Here is why. What you don't focus on doesn't exist. A problem only exists when you give it your attention. From your mind's perspective, what you don't give any thought to doesn't exist. From your mind's perspective, what you don't give any thought to doesn't exist. Let's take a hypothetical example. Imagine you lost your legs. If you accept that fact immediately and refuse to give it any thought, there will be no problem and death, no mental suffering. You would simply be living in reality. Of course, that's usually not what happens. A problem exists only in time. A problem can only exist in the past or in the future. And where do the past and future exist? In your mind, to acknowledge a problem, you must use your thoughts. And thoughts exist in time, not in the present moment. A problem needs to be labeled as a problem to actually exist. A problem exists only when you interpret a situation as being a problem. Otherwise, there is no problem. This concept may be hard to grasp at first, but it's a key theory. In the next section, we will look at the different components affecting your emotions.